Hey everybody, Michael Snyder here, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is November 27th, and right now we're looking at the infrared satellite imagery. You can see BC, Washington, Oregon here. Here goes our frontal system ushering in this colder air into the Pacific Northwest. You can see as this cold air moves out across southeast Alaska here in the west coast of BC, it moves over the relatively warm water here, and that's what forms these cumuliform clouds. And they move back across Vancouver Island towards western Washington, southwest BC in the form of convergent zones with a little bit of instability associated with them. Then we're going to bring some colder air down across the region here and develop a bigger storm system off the coast here on Wednesday, and that's the one everybody wants to know about. We'll take a look at that in some great detail here in a moment. You can see the winter storm warning still up for Washington, Oregon, Cascades, Northeast Oregon, Idaho, Montana, some winter weather advisories, high wind watches here, and some wind advisories still around some of the North Puget Sound here in eastern Washington. Now taking a look here, this is off into Montana. You can see the timing of this as we go through the day today. I-90 may be impacted as we go through this afternoon here, and then eventually sag south across the area. So heads up if you're traveling eastbound out of I-90, on I-90 I should say, out of Washington into Idaho and Montana there on through the day today. This is for midweek here coming up. Nice graphic for Spokane, Washington, Tuesday evening through Thursday morning here. Plenty cold enough for this to all be snow here across much of the region here. We'll take a look at what kind of snowfall we can expect here towards the end of the video as well. Nice graphic from the National Weather Service Spokane. This is for Medford, Oregon here, and this goes through Thursday night. Potential for some significant snowfall for the higher elevation here too as well. So make sure to check travel conditions as you're going south on I-5 here through southern Oregon as well, especially across Siskiyou Summit down there. Now taking a look at our friends in California here briefly, you can see this frontal system. As we go through this week, check that thing out, swinging through Northern California, bring a cold front all the way down towards Southern California. Some good snows for the Sierra Nevadas coming up here, and going through the precipitation here really quick. This is very beneficial to California as you see that cold front move all the way down towards Southern California. Good amounts for the Sierra Nevada, which will fall mainly in the form of snow here as we go through later this week into next weekend. And here goes some of the snowfall amounts for the Sierra that you'll see here piling up quite nicely. So very beneficial for California. I like to see these storm systems get all the way down there, especially during La Nina years. Now taking a look at the European here, this is current. You see the storm system starting to slide off through Montana here as we go through tonight. And you'll see the cold air try to start moving down into the region, filtering down out of the northwest and north. We still have some troughing around that could bring a little bit of lowland snowfall to portions up here. Again, higher hills are going to be favored, but these showers are going to be convective in nature and kind of hit or miss, but there could be a little bit of accumulation with that, and you may see some flakes flying even on the Seattle Metro here on the higher hills if you're lucky. Now we bring that system down across here, and then the next one develops out here. We're going to take a look at that one here in a couple minutes, so hang with me. Taking a look here at the wind speeds here, NAM 3 km. See the winds coming through the Strait of Juan de Fuca here through the afternoon today. Across the higher terrain remains blustery. Convergent zone activity moving across the Cascades today as well. As we go on in through tonight, you'll notice some of this north flow start down across the Strait of Georgia here, out of the Fraser River Valley here, and start to move into the interior here. And that could bring a few snow showers here across the northern interior. We'll take a look at that here in a moment again, as well as what kind of snowfall we can expect. But here goes the NAM kind of showing this convergent zone activity well as it bounces around the Cascades here as we move through this evening and tonight. And then we start to get that north flow, so that'll start to dry us out. But along that leading edge of those winds, you could get some snow showers here and a few brief accumulations as those pass overhead. Maybe some flakes on the higher hills down through the central sound as well. And then we clear out and we bring some cold air down across the region here, and we put this cold air in place, and that could set the stage here for the next storm system. So now we're looking at the NAM 3 km, total snow and Kuchera here. We're rolling through this morning on into this afternoon here. You can see the snow is piling up across the Cascades of Washington, Oregon, Northeast Oregon as well, Idaho, Rockies of Montana, and BC. And you can see as we go through the early morning hours of Monday, could get a little bit of snowfall. It's going to be fairly isolated here, but there could be that bit of snowfall falling as these northerly winds start to push this cold air down across the region here as we go on into Monday morning. But the big story on into Monday morning is the higher terrain snowfall here across the Cascades. It's some very nice amounts showing up here. Now we'll take a look at the European here also. And this is Kuchera also, and it's showing some of that spotty accumulation possible for the lowlands up here, mainly north of Seattle, but really anywhere across the Puget Sound could get some flakes, especially on the higher hills as we go through Monday morning. But look at these totals for the Cascades, Washington, Oregon, Northeast Oregon, Rockies of BC, Idaho, and Montana as well. That's the big story through Monday morning, really. And then the storm system comes out here on Wednesday, which we're going to take a detailed look at now. So here we go with the first lobe. GFS on the right, European on the left. First lobe moves across the area. Here goes the secondary one across British Columbia. It comes out a little far north here, and it spills this cold air out over the ocean here. So the cyclogenesis is going to take place fairly far north off the coast of Vancouver Island here. So this is going to try to bring some warm air at the surface back into western Washington, eventually up through southwest BC. There's going to be a fierce battle between the cold air in place here and the Pacific moisture trying to move in off the coastline here, which we could set up a pretty significant snowfall, a wet snowfall here across portions of western Washington into southwest BC. We'll take a look at that here in some more detail in a moment. You can see how this trough stretches out, and it really doesn't bring that favorable trajectory that we need of the cold air coming off the BC coast and feeding it back down into Oregon and Washington here to bring the really cold air down across the regions. We're just not quite getting that with this polar lobe here coming on Wednesday. That's kind of been the downtrend over the last few days here. I talked about the potential for getting skunked here across western Washington and Oregon with this initial storm, and that kind of remains true as we look at things now. Now, taking a look, you can see the initial arrival of the cold air. This is 850 millibars, 5,000 feet temperature anomaly. Cold air is still going to set up over BC here. Then you can see it spill out over southeast Alaska here and off the coast of BC. And then you can see that cyclogenesis taking place out here. So it's going to try to pump that warm air back into western Washington, southwest BC here as we go on during the day Wednesday. So we're probably going to have a changeover to rain for many portions on Wednesday. But like I said, there is going to be quite the fierce battle here along the warm front for portions north of Seattle up through southwest BC. More on that here in a minute. Now, as we look on into the extended a little bit here, just kind of getting out into Fantasyland again, the European showing that we will remain cold with some Arctic air nearby as we go through next week as well, but low confidence in this right now. So let's take a closer look at Wednesday's system now. This is the NAM 3KM, hot off the presses here. 2-meter dew point temperature. Go through this afternoon, through this evening, into tomorrow morning. You can see this colder, drier air moving down across western Washington here, going on in through Monday night now, and you can see some pretty low temperature readings here across the northwest interior to southwest BC, teens down through the Puget Sound as well. And you might be wondering, why am I showing you the dew point temperature? And that's because we're going to be dealing with the wet bulb effect, at least initially. So this cold, dry air in place here, when you bring Pacific moisture into it, you're going to bring some evaporative cooling here across the region and probably keep it below freezing for the initial stages of this moisture moving in here. Then we're going to start to erode at this air mass with southerly winds here. And how quickly will this warm up occur? We're still just not quite sure just yet, but there's some areas that could get some heavy wet snowfall in this transition here during the day Wednesday. Going a little bit further into the afternoon here Tuesday, you can kind of see the moistening of this air mass here as we go on in through Tuesday afternoon shown there. Now looking at the NAM 3KM precipitation, you can see with that precipitation ending north to south here. A little bit of a break as we go through Monday and Monday night. Then the Pacific moisture starts to return here. You can see as it overspreads the region here, probably going to get some of that evaporative cooling and start this out as snowfall, at least initially across western Washington. Now we're looking at the European here. Put this into motion. You can see the westerlies convergence zone activity going on for mountain snows. And you can see the northerly winds bringing that dry air mass down into western Washington and southwest BC here on the afternoon, evening Monday. And then our storm system sets off the coastline of Vancouver Island here. And you can see these southerlies really start to get going out ahead of that and try to chop away at that cold air mass. Probably a messy transition, places Seattle north as we go through the day Wednesday. I'm glad we have tomorrow to look at these weather models to try to pinpoint some of these snowfall amounts, because it's going to be a tricky forecast, folks. And we do have more chances for snowfall on in through later this week and into the weekend here, which we'll look at that when it gets a little bit closer. Confidence is going to be low at that range. Looking at the warm front diagram here, I showed this yesterday. You can imagine Portland, Seattle, Everett, Bellingham, Vancouver, BC. As you go further north, the cold air is a little bit deeper, a little bit drier and colder. And you can imagine these southerlies trying to chop away at this cold air mass here. A lot of times models overdo how quickly this air mass will get eroded across much of western Washington and BC here. So we'll watch that closely tomorrow as well here. But it's going to be a messy transition for some places, I have a hunch. Now looking at currently, you can see a little bit of snowfall maybe tonight into tomorrow morning. We dry out a bit during the day and afternoon Monday. Then we start to bring that Pacific moisture back into that dry, cold air mass here. Probably going to start out with snow, at least initially, Tuesday night. And you can see the transition starting to occur here across the Puget Sound here as we go through Wednesday morning, late morning, afternoon. It's showing it mostly rain through the lowlands here. But again, it could be eroding some of that cold air too rapidly there. And then the potential for some more snow does exist out through the extended. Check this out. I just got to show you this. This is going through Thursday night. A well-placed low-pressure system here could bring a deformation band snowfall to some of the Willamette Valley. So Oregon even has some chances here coming up. But again, this is low confidence right now, so don't pay too much attention to that. Now we're looking at total snow could share here on the European. Let's put this into motion here. And we go into Tuesday morning. You can see a little bit of snowfall starting for Seattle, maybe an inch or so. But look at some of the areas north have a chance for some significant snowfall during this transition as we go through the morning and afternoon Wednesday. So this could be kind of sloppy and nasty as we go through the day here, folks. And that warm up you can see really starts to move into Seattle before you can pile up the snow too much on Wednesday morning. But look at the mountain snowfalls here. Just an incredible storm coming up here as we go through Thursday shown here. I mean, look at this, over 5 feet in some of the higher terrains here. I mean, look at Mount Rainier. It's showing up towards 100 inches there as we go through Friday. And you can see that big snowfall coming there for Northeast Washington, Northeast Oregon as well. Now take a look here at Bellingham International. This is the European Ensemble run of last night, the 06Z. So you can see a little bit potential there for Monday morning, but then you can see the better potential there as that Pacific system starts to move in here with potential cold air trapped in place up there with the warm front advancing northward across western Washington towards southwest BC. The control showing over 8 inches here, but this is 10-to-1 snowfall ratio, so lesser amounts are probably going to be on order there. This is Painfield, Everett. You can see this could be a messy transition all the way up there. Again, this is 10-to-1, so snowfall amounts are probably not going to be 10 inches there for Everett, but you could see some accumulating snowfall before this transitions to rain sometime during the day Wednesday. Now, this is looking at Oregon. I wanted to show you that one just to give the people down in the Willamette Valley some hope here coming up here as we go through. Look at what the nice, well-placed system here. It's showing some accumulating snowfall across the Willamette Valley here as we go on in through later this week towards the weekend here. So there's always hope off through the extended, right? Now looking at the snow levels, you can see it's really crashed down as we go through tonight into tomorrow morning here. They should be down around the surface for many areas, but by that time the moisture is going to be ending for much of the area at that time. So one more thing here before we finish up, take a look at this. Since we're getting these systems and not our typical big time moist Pacific systems off the coastline, we are in a precipitation deficit here, and looking off into early December here, you can kind of see that exists along the coast of British Columbia down towards western Washington and Oregon as we go on into early and mid-December there. So it's kind of an interesting thing here as we continue to remain below average precipitation for November so far. Yeah, so here we go, folks. There's a lot to talk about. There's a potential for systems after the big Wednesday storm as well, too. So, but tomorrow and today, we're trying to focus on that Wednesday system here. I'll be doing some updates on Twitter during the day today. But again, a little bit of snowfall possible tonight. A lot of snowfall for the mountains over the next few days. Potential for snowfall into the lowlands on through Tuesday afternoon, Wednesday morning. Messy transition coming here for some places north of Seattle all the way up towards southwest BC. We'll pay a lot of attention to that tomorrow morning as well. So anyways, I hope you guys are enjoying the weather hype here. This doesn't look like the huge Arctic Express it did several days ago for some of the region here, but we still have some hope off through the extent of the European, kind of showing some more cold air hanging around British Columbia here as we go on in through the 7 to 10 day period as well. But we'll continue to watch that as we go on in through these forecasts day by day. So anyway, hope you guys are having a good day. Check back tomorrow morning. We'll do this all again then, and I will talk to you guys then.